All right. Yes. We're going to have a very great discussion this evening, as we would be having part 2 of the discussion we started last week Sunday. Yes, we are having part 2 of that discussion that started last week Sunday. Trials and Travails of Faith, part 2. All right. Trials and Travails of Faith, part 2. As usual, we'll take a very quick music break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Okay, just keep the dial locked. Give you someone a call. If you know anyone who is really distressed emotionally, someone who is depressed, and all the DDDD, you are disappointed, you are depressed, you are distressed, all the DDD that you can think of, please tell them to tune into Top Radio 90.9 FM this evening. Okay, we intend to encourage ourselves. Okay, yeah, that's what we're doing. Tend to encourage ourselves this evening. Okay, so just tune in to Top Radio 90.9 FM. All right, call your loved ones to tune in and join us. Yes, not to forget. Yes, the YouTube channels, my YouTube channels are live now, with more videos and more content uploaded. And today we're having part 2 of the discussion that we started last week. The topic we are looking at is Trials and Travails of Faith. Trials and Travails of Faith. Just a quick recap. All right. If you were not part of the discussion last week, not a problem. By tomorrow evening, the part 1 of this discussion should be uploaded on my YouTube channel. All right, but I'll do a quick recap of most of what we shared last week, and then we'll continue from there. All right. So last week we looked at the meaning of the word trial. Right? We looked at the meaning of the word trial, and dictionary did say that dictionary.com it says trial is a formal examination of evidence by a judge before a jury in order to decide guilt in a case of criminal or civil proceedings. Alright? Dictionary also says further that a trial is a test of the performance or qualities or suitability of someone or something. Right? So, trial. Dictionary tells us, second definition, it said it's a test of the performance or qualities or suitability of someone or something. That's why you hear scientists will talk about clinical trials. Okay? When a new drug has been developed, there will be clinical trials to see the efficacy of that drug. Or when a new procedure has been found in medicine, there will be clinical trial to see the suitability and effectiveness of that procedure. Okay, so that is trial. But the interesting thing in the definition and all of the definitions I saw is that you cannot separate trial from test. So in other words, test is synonymous of trial. When we were in school, we will have tests. Okay, if you are a student, you have tests. Test is the teacher's way of examining your knowledge or understanding of the topic that has been taught. Same way, we also have tests, or our understanding of the things that we, or of certain things in life. We need to know that life is a school. Okay, life is a school. It's a school with very big departments. And the curriculum also varies. Alright? So, at different times in life, we go through tests. Okay? Or trials. So, what have you learned? As a teenager, you can have your own experience. As an adult, you can have your own life experiences. Okay, those are tests. So, trials. All right. I went further also to check the meaning of the word travail, and it says a painful or laborious effort. Painful or laborious effort. Okay, that is the meaning of travail. So, you may not be able to separate travail from trial, because oftentimes tests are not usually pleasant. If you think tests are pleasant, just look back at what happens in your days in school. When the teacher or the lecturer brings questions that are not so sweet. So just driving it home. So the point we're saying is, there's trials and travails that we go through in life, especially in our walk of God, in our walk with God. All right. The walk with our Maker is a journey, right from the time you become conscious of the existence of your Maker. Okay, the tests and trials, or trials and travails, starts from there. Okay, it starts from there. All right. So last week we also looked at biblical examples of people who had trials and travails in the Bible. Okay. I did tell us last week that this discussion started from conversation that I had with a number of people who are regular listeners of this program, and who are so worried that, does it mean God no longer answers prayers? That was what one of them said. Why does it take God so long to answer our prayers, or to answer my prayer? Another person says, is God actually still listening to, or is he aware of all of what has been happening to her? Remember, and I said last week that God does not sleep nor slumber. He's aware. He knows. But he allows certain things to happen to his children, oftentimes for reasons best known to him. Yeah. Reasons best known to him. Because it's not everything that happened to us that can be explained. And it's not everything that happened to us that God will also tell you why why you are going through what you're going through. All right. So we need to understand that. Okay. Very, very important. So, God also doesn't do evil. He doesn't. Okay. God is good. Can you say so? If all is not well with you, you may not be able to say God is good, because you'll be seeing the negative things. The negative things that you are going through may have been amplified, and so it's difficult for you to say God is good. But you see, God is always good at all times, and I'm going to prove it to you very shortly. Okay. So we've looked at the meaning of trials, and we've looked at the meaning of travails. Biblical examples of people who had trials and travails. I highlighted one of them, or I think about how many? Yeah, about 4 or 5 of them last week. Okay, so we look at them again. I know where we stopped was looking at the causes and reasons for trials. We are going there. Okay. One of the people we looked at last week was Abraham. Abraham, who is generally described in Christianity as a father of faith, was one man that went through trials and travails. His major challenge was that he wanted a child. Okay, he wanted a child because he was growing old. Same also with his wife. Both of them were growing old, and he was concerned, especially that God had promised. When somebody has promised you that he was going to give you something, and you have waited and the thing is not forthcoming, there's every tendency you want to has this person forgotten? I perceived that was what Abraham was going through. He was concerned that he was growing old. Same with his wife. Okay? They were concerned. Okay? How would you be asking God to give you a child and He's saying He wants to give you nations? It doesn't really add up. You are growing old. What it means is every part of your body is already telling you it's time to go. And then you don't have a child. But here is your maker talking to you and saying He'll give you a child. And I asked a question last week. I said, why will it take God 100 years to give Abraham Isaac? Why? I mean, if you say somebody is your friend, as we were made to understand in the Bible, that Abraham was called a friend of God. God affirmed it that Abraham is his friend. So, I mean, why would you delay giving your friend what he is entitled to, or what you have promised him? At least you made a promise. So why is it that people pray consistently for a long time over an issue and you don't get answer, or you don't get to see the fruit of your prayers? No wonder the Bible tells us that faith deferred makes the heart sick. Maybe you are sick even this evening as you are listening to this broadcast. You are just down. You are sick. You are sick because you've done all that you need to do. You are not getting commensurate results to the effort and the time that you have put in to what is bothering you. Okay. So I perceive Abraham was. So I perceive Sarah was. Okay. Now, I need us to understand that one of the dangers of prolonged answers or delay in getting results that we expect is that there's every tendency that temptation will set in. Temptation to want to look at, okay, how can we help God? Let me tell you, you cannot help your maker. You can't. That was what Sarai attempted to do when he suggested that Abraham goes into her maid, Hagar. So maybe by her, I could actually conceive. Okay, and that was how Ishmael came into being. Okay, so Ishmael was a product of the advice that Sarai gave to her husband Abraham. But that was not God's plan for both of them. So there's every tendency that temptation will set in after you have weighed all the options on the table to say, okay, we can help God now. But you need to understand that you can't help God. He's God all by himself. He will do what only him can do at his own time. Right? So, Abraham eventually had Isaac at the age of 100 when Sarah, his wife, was 90. We need to understand that God's calendar is totally different from the English calendar that we live our lives by. Okay? God is not limited to the biological and physiological changes that may have happened or that is happening in our bodies. He's not limited by it. Okay? So, he has a way of doing his things at his own time. Alright? So, we need to understand that God's timing is not the same as your regular English calendar. Your biological clock and God's own clock may not be reading same way. Alright. So we need to understand that carefully. So, trials and travails of faith. That's our conversation today, in case you just tuned in. Alright? So, eventually Abraham had Isaac. And you can now imagine God now asking Abraham to go and sacrifice that same son that took him years, several decades to get. He said, go and sacrifice Isaac. He said, your only son. Somebody will ask, why would the Bible tells us that Isaac is Abraham's only son. After all, there was Ishmael. When you try to help God by your own ways, God will not recognize that effort. That's what happened there. So, said, go and sacrifice him. Okay? So, you can see that tests and trial are in levels. The first one was that there was delay. When the child now came, when he was 100 years old, he's now asking him to go and sacrifice that child. Now, in between the time Isaac was born and the time God gave that instruction, what we need to see is that God actually intended a test. It was a test of faith. Alright? I don't know how many people have failed the test that God had brought our ways at different times. Probably may have failed several times. You start, why me? Why me? Perhaps you have even said that this morning. Why me? Why me? Why should it not be you? Who else should it be? Alright. So we looked at Abraham and we went further to look at another person by the name Joseph. Wow. Joseph. Can you imagine? Young man that had a dream as a teenager. Okay. God showed him visions. 3 visions indeed. Alright. And he told his brothers about the dreams. The sun, the moon, and the stars bowing to him. His parents also bowing to him. The elements bowing to him. And then his brothers were angry the more. The more he told them the story, the Bible tells us, his brothers were also angry with him to say, what exactly do you mean? That we will be bowing to you? But you see, I noticed one thing. His father said to, the Bible made us understand that his father kept mum when he responded. When he told him about the dream, he didn't talk. Okay? But despite all of the effort that his brothers made, okay, they decided to sell him into slavery. They wanted to kill him initially. But his blood brother, Benjamin, said, no, let us not kill him. Let's sell him into slavery. So they sold Joseph into slavery. That's how he found himself in the house of Potiphar. Okay, Captain Potiphar. Right? And because he was a handsome and a faithful young man, he became the head of the home. And Mrs. Potiphar began to show interest in him. We know the story. Long and short of it, he was imprisoned for an offense he didn't commit. Okay? So, can you see, that the pit and the prison was not part of what God showed Joseph. They were not, all of those in-betweens, they were not part of what, the dreams he had. So what we're saying is, in between the time of conception of your dream, of your life dreams and goals and aspirations, the detours and the contours that you will go through, you won't know until you start that journey. The journey may be your marriage. The journey may be journey into parenthood. The journey may be a journey into, starting your own business. It doesn't matter how fantastic your feasibility study may be. There are challenges that will come your way in that business that were not pre-planned or premeditated. Alright? That's how life is. There are contours and detours that will come our ways that you didn't even anticipate. Nobody would have thought that there will be a virus that will hit the planet and everybody will be confined to their various homes worldwide. Nobody would have thought of that until COVID hit last year. Actually, 2020. Okay? So, the point we are saying is, from the time of conception of a dream, you never can tell all that you go through in between. And God deliberately allows us to go through all of that because there is an end intended If you read Genesis chapter 49, when the brothers of Joseph eventually came to Egypt to come and look for bread, they didn't recognize him initially. They didn't know. All right. And they spoke in Hebrew. But because he was one of them, he had their language. And then eventually he began to ask questions. Where's your father? He said, our father is still at home. He's at home. Okay. And eventually he made them realize, I am Joseph. Wow. I am Joseph, your brother that you sold into slavery. Wow. And they all bowed down. Now, did that dream not come to pass? It came to pass. They still bowed. So it doesn't matter what anybody may have done or what they are doing against you. Ultimately, all the bad things that people have done to you and they are still doing to you, negative things have been said about you, they all will work together for your good, because the Bible tells us in Romans 8 chapter 28 that all things work together for good for them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Alright? All things still work together for good for them that love God. So it doesn't matter. Both the bitter experiences that you have gone through, the horrible experiences that you are going through, all of them, they will work for your good. That's the test there. That's the test. Alright? If you eat bitter leaf raw, it will be bitter in your mouth, right? But when it is processed, what happens? The same bitter leaf will be so sweet. I so much love bitter leaf egusi soup. Oh my God. Oh, I'm already dreaming now. Alright. There's a place I usually will buy whenever I want to eat. Bitter leaf and egusi soup. Oh, fantastic. But if you eat the bitter leaf raw, it will be bitter. But when it is processed, it's sweet. So the bitter experiences you have seen today and that you are going through will ultimately become sweet experiences that you look back and say, wow, how did we go through all of this? Alright, so we talked about Joseph. Oh, don't also forget we looked at Zechariah. Zechariah was the one that really baffled me. That's the father of John the Baptist. The Bible affirmed that Zechariah was a faithful man. He was a priest and that he was a faithful man. But he didn't have a child. So, if somebody is a faithful man, serving God so diligently, and he doesn't have a child, so which God is he calling? People often will make jests. They will make jests of you. They make fun of you. This church that you've been going all this while, what has been the outcome? And that will discourage you. If you are a Muslim, say, oh, you've been praying 5 times daily. What has been the outcome? So you want to, discouragement wants to set in. Okay? But you need to understand that you must not listen to voice of discouragement. At the time of trials and travails, there will be so many voices. Some of them voices that are, hell-bent at discouraging you and, that are intended to cause you greater pain. So you need to develop a thick skin and be conscious of what you listen to. Alright? Zechariah, another example. And then we looked at Job. Some few hours ago, I was looking at the book of Job. The Bible says that Job was a righteous man. Was a righteous man, and he went further to say he was one man that feared God. So if somebody is righteous, it means he's in right standing with God, and he also fears God. But see what happened. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and all of his children died in one day. He lost all his businesses. And then all of his children also died. Travails and trials and travails of faith. Okay? So when people go through challenging times, you want to wonder, why is this thing happening to this person? The first thing oftentimes that people will say, maybe it was sin. But you need to understand that, yes, sin can cause or attract trials and travails, but it is not all trials and travails that are that are an offshoot of sin. Not all trials and travails are offshoot of sin. Alright? Not all. There was a young man that was born blind in the Bible, and the disciples of Jesus asked him, Master, this boy that was born blind, who sinned? Is it him or his parents? And Jesus responded, he said, no. No, none of them sinned. He said, but that the work of God may be what? May be evident in his life. So, it's not everything that we go through that can be explained. There are so many things that life will throw at us. We just need to brace up to the challenges and face the reality squarely. Alright, that is Job. Okay, I can go on and on. There are so many biblical examples of people who had trials and travails. So many. Oh, I remember. We also talked about Lazarus. Lazarus was described as a friend of God. Okay, he was a friend of Jesus. And his sisters, Mary Magdalene, sent message to him to say, your friend whom you love is sick. He didn't come. So your friend whom you love is dead. Jesus still didn't come until the fourth day when Lazarus had been buried. He didn't come. So, how do you say somebody is your friend and you didn't show up at the time they need you the most? That was what happened. Alright? We need to understand that, as the Bible says, the things that are written in the Bible, they are written for our learning. Okay? So, all the stories I've shared with you, they are all in the Bible. If you want scriptural references, I can give them to you. Okay? But more importantly, let us focus on application of, some of these stories. We need to apply the different lessons in all of these stories to our own lives so that you can be encouraged and not be discouraged. Okay? So that you also can, understand that the troubles you are going through are not going to last forever. Recall that last week I did say that every human problem has a terminal date. There's a terminal date to every trouble that we go through. Alright? There's a terminal date. It's not meant to be forever. And it's also not meant to see your end if you do the needful. Because I'm going to talk about the needful that we need to do so that you don't become casualties of the troubles and travails that you are going through. It is very, very easy. One of the easiest things to do when somebody is going through trials and travails is to give in, and then you die cheap. You die earlier than the intended age. Okay? You died earlier than what God planned for you. You died earlier than the age that God planned for you. You can easily give in and then you die. Alright? So, you need to be strong, spirit, soul, and body, and understand that yes, what does not kill you can only make you strong. And you also need to understand that troubles really doesn't last forever. They're going to last only for a short time. Okay? So, how do we look out for the rainbow? In the time of trials and travails, where is the rainbow? Alright. Yes, I'll be sharing with us after this quick music break on the causes and reasons for trials and travails. Remember last week I did say that there are 7 reasons It doesn't matter who you are, your title, your position in life, how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter. Every human being has their own fair share of trials and travails that they go through. Whether you have relationship with God or not, it doesn't matter. Nobody is immune. There is no immunity. Yes, you are not immune from trials and travails. Nobody is immune. You go through your own share. They say, this life is not straight. This life is not fair. Yes, it is true. The Bible affirms it that the whole world lies under the sway of the evil one. But God allows it for a reason. The things that happen in life is allowed by the one who created the world. It's allowed. Remember, I did say last week when I told us about a pastor of a church. It really shocked me. I was really shocked. It was about 10 years ago, thereabouts, when I was told that this great teacher of the Word of God, I followed him passionately for years. And eventually I had the opportunity of meeting him when he was invited by a church in Oregon. Surprisingly, another great pastor, who is a personal friend of mine, posted his obituary on his Facebook page. I was shocked. And when I asked, I was told that he had been sick for some time and he died the very day, the last day of the 30 days fast that his church had embarked on. That was quite shocking to me. I said, wow, why would this man, full of life and energy, preaches the word of God with power and passion? Why would he die? Especially that his church fasted for 30 days. On the 30th day, the pastor died. I was shocked. So it means that it is not all prayers that we pray, and in fact, all prayer and fasting that we do for a situation, not all will change situation or circumstance, because there's an end intended by God. Alright? So, that momentary discouragement that came in for me, it was because I was looking at it from only one angle. But when I looked at it from the other side, God understands. He understands what we don't know. Alright? So, he died, and it was quite very shocking. I also did mention about some pastors, especially Miles Monroe, who also died in a plane crash. Okay? Passionate teacher of the word. I'm giving you examples of people that we know. After all, we have looked at examples of people in the Bible. If we don't know Abraham, after all, we didn't see him, and there was no video of the time that Abraham lived. These other ones I'm talking about, we can still check YouTube and see their pictures and their messages. Okay? And see their videos. Pastor Tayo Adeyemi of blessed memory, I salute you even in eternity. He was one pastor that speaks with a lot of passion. Very passionate about the gospel. Alright? So, God has an intended end to every situation in life. There's an end that He intended. Okay? Oh, I remember the story someone once shared with me about the son of a bishop, a popular bishop that died in Lagos. In fact, the church had a program that was ongoing at that period. Okay? I think about the third day or second day, I'm not sure now. When the pastor's son took ill, one of his sons took ill. They took him to the hospital. The doctor that attended to that boy was the one who told me the story. And he wasn't getting better, so they decided to refer him to another hospital most likely a government hospital. But unfortunately, he died. Now, the doctor who told me this story said the shocking part was that the pastor still continued his ministration that same day in the evening. Because people had thought that, this program that they have started, they have to suspend. He continued. He ministered that same day his son died. Oh, does it mean he's insensitive? Well, probably he had looked at it from the angle of what Job said when Job was told that his businesses had perished and all his children also had died. Job said, if you are a student of the Bible, you read Job chapter 1, you will see where he said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. To God be the glory. We have different ways that we respond to calamities. Some people can cry, they can roll on the floor, and some people will just, put themselves together and say, well, it is well, let's move on. It can be tough. Some challenging experiences in life can be very tough. Very tough. But they are all part of the curriculum that we go through in life. They are all part of the syllabus of life. Trials and travails. How have you responded to the trials and travails that have come your way and the ones that you're even going through at the moment? A classmate of mine that we went to school together once told me the story of how her husband came home and was ill. Okay, and he said, what's the problem? He kept complaining. He said, okay, let's go to the hospital. The guy drove her to the hospital, and when they got to the hospital, she said the doctor examined him, and all of a sudden she said he started sweating profusely. So they put him on the couch. They were attending to him. In a few minutes later, he had died. She was wondering, what kind of a thing is this? He was the one who drove his wife to the hospital and he died. Few hours or few minutes that they got to the hospital. So, things happen in life. I said all of these stories for us to understand that life can be tough, can be challenging. But when the going gets tough, only the tough will get going. Okay? Are you tough? You need to toughen your muscles. Oh, trials and travails of faith. Trials and travails of faith. What do you believe, or who do you believe? How come, despite that you have faith, I'm talking about faith, despite that you have faith in God, how come things have not gone as you expected? How come life seems so tough and challenging? As a matter of fact, where exactly is God when his children are going through challenges and travails? Where exactly is he? Where? Alright. So, we have looked at the meaning of the word trial, we have looked at travails, and we have also seen biblical examples of people who have trials and travails. And I also gave us, real life examples of people that you and I know, and even those we don't even know. Alright? So, what are the causes? Or the reasons why we go through troubles in life? Remember, I did say that these life troubles, have no respect for humans. They have no respect for your title. They have no respect for how long you have been working with God. They have no respect for, I have been in ministry for 30 years. They have no respect for your age. If troubles have respect for age, Abraham shouldn't have Isaac at the age of 100. If you're my friend on Facebook, you'll see this, the things I posted some days back, or I think it was last week, thereabouts, about people who are in their 50s, that are yet to be married. Surprisingly, I can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 of them that are virgins in their 50s. Both male and female. They have never been married. They have good means of livelihood. Some of them are self-employed. No husband. So, what are the causes and reasons for trials and travails that we experience in life? Number one, remember I did an highlight of all of this last week, but there was no time for us to look at the details. Oh, by the way, I need you to go to my YouTube channel. If you didn't hear me when I started this broadcast this evening, there are more videos now on my YouTube channel. Yes, the guys who worked on it, they worked tirelessly up till late last night, ensuring that my YouTube channel, has enough videos for your delight. The truth is, yours truly have quite a huge number of content, so I'll urge you to go to YouTube. Just type Gboyega Ilori or Gboyega Speaks. Alright, type it on your phone, YouTube, and then you'll see the channel. And please subscribe to my channel. Alright, if it is true that I have impacted you, you have been blessed by what we do here, I don't think it is too much for you to also subscribe to my YouTube channel. And the reason we ask you to subscribe is so that whenever we post a new content, you receive the notification. Someone called me about an hour to this broadcast, and she said, yes, I've seen the videos. Wow, thank you. So there are new content there. Alright? Subscribe, and please tell other people, your friends and families, about the content that you see on my channel. By the way, the month of September, the 9th month of the year, will be devoted to us looking at how to improve our finances. Alright, the economy of Nigeria has gone haywire with regards to inflation and how purchasing power and economic power of the populace has depleted over time. Right? Just before I came on air, someone showed me a newspaper report today of parents who are complaining and lamenting about school fees, how a number of schools have increased their school fees, some by 30%, some by 40%, some by 50%, some even more than, So, and some parents have said they are withdrawing their children to public schools. So, that's the reflection of the state of the nation. Alright? When cooking gas is already selling for about 1,000 naira, cooking gas. Is that one also imported? I thought gas is a byproduct of crude oil. So why is the price going up? Palm oil that we grow locally, why is the price also going up? But you see, prices of goods and services are going up because of huge cost of production. Oh, all of these next week, or from September. Yeah, just stay tuned. I'll share what I know, and I want you also to participate, please. Whatever formula that has worked for you, that you have used to survive the economic times that we are going through as a nation, please feel free to call in and share what has worked for you and what is working for you. Don't just be a consumer, please. You also need to be a contributor on this platform. So from the month of September, by the grace of God, we'll be looking at how we can improve our finances. Anything that affects the eyes also affect the nose. Alright. So the point we are saying is, I need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell your family members and friends to also subscribe. There's a whole lot of content that will be coming your way. All the recordings of the last 7 years. Can you imagine? The last 7 years on this platform, they will be coming on that platform. So you can't afford to miss out. So just subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go there, even as I speak now. Click on subscribe. Do it. Just do it now. Do it. All right. Thank you for a big thank you to all of you that have subscribed. I see your names on the channel. I see your names. YouTube will often pop up. Okay. Do you want me to call out your names? Those of you that have subscribed. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so very much. And if you are yet to subscribe, please do. Just go to Gboyega Speaks on YouTube. That's my channel. And click on subscribe. That's all. And keep watching the videos, listening. Right? And interestingly, virtually all the telcos have YouTube, special YouTube data offer. Okay, so just buy a special, data offer for YouTube and consume what will edify you, what will help you. That's the point we are saying. All right. So, what are the causes and reasons for trials and travails? Why do we go through the things that we go through? Why? What are the causes and reasons for trials and travails? Number one, remember I did say last week, the nation you were born. Really? The nation you were born can be the cause or reasons for the trials and travails that you are going through. It can. Imagine for a second that a child or a baby was born in Ukraine. Say the last 3 months. The child was born in the midst of war. Oh, they will call that child Abisogun, Abi? One who was born in the midst of war. But you need to understand that the place of your birth can indeed attract trials and travails, in the sense that you will be experiencing what you know nothing about. You know nothing about it. Okay? You know nothing about it, but things are happening around the nation of your birth, and you bear the brunt. There's a young man in a certain office that I often go nearly every week. He is from Maiduguri, and I asked him the question 2 years ago. When are you going to see your family? He said, I don't have money to go and see my family. I said, how much will it cost you to go and see your family? He said about 200 and something thousand. I said, what? To go to Maiduguri? He said, no, his family are not in Maiduguri. Where are they? He said they are in Chad. Then he told us the story of how the entire community in Maiduguri is no longer habitable as a result of Boko Haram, insurgency and all. So, Nigerians have taken refuge in neighboring countries, especially those in the northeast. They've taken refuge in neighboring countries. Chad. So that's where his family are. And he mentioned that the vehicle that would take them from, he mentioned the town in Maiduguri to Chad, only goes once daily, with soldiers escorting that vehicle because of possibility of attack, by gunmen. So they have to hire soldiers that will, be like escorts for the vehicles. Mhm. So you can see people facing trials and travails that they know nothing about, but just because they were born in that part of Nigeria, or because they live there. So the country of your birth, the peace around the place of your birth, or no peace around the place of your birth, can indeed induce trials and travails. Okay. So number 2, the family you were born into. Why will God tell Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, get out of your father's house to a land that I will show you at the age of 75? Why? God already knew what was going to happen. He knew what was ahead. And he needed to protect or to prepare Abraham for what is ahead. Remember that God had previously said that his descendants will be afflicted for 400 years. Those descendants that were afflicted for 400 years, they knew nothing about that prophecy. They were not the ones who sinned, though. There are things you are going through, not necessarily because you were the one that sinned, but because your forefathers actually wronged God. Well, did the Bible not say it is the soul that sinned that shall die? Well, it is true. It's the same Bible that also said that you bear the consequences of sin even up to the first, second, and third generation. So you probably could be going through trials and travails as a result of the things that your forefathers or ancestors have done. The beautiful thing is that at the time you give your life to Jesus, your ancestry changed. Now, the fact that your ancestry has changed when you have given your life to Jesus and you have accepted him as your personal Lord and Savior does not totally exonerate you from trials and travails that could come as a result of your family lineage. It doesn't totally take it out. Okay. So, you've seen the second reason now, causes. The nation you were born, the family you were born. Look, all the things we are going through in Nigeria at the moment, if you have not had the privilege of traveling out of Nigeria, you won't know that they are not the norm. Okay? Yes. At one time or the other, petrol scarcity. And then you start looking for fuel here and there in a nation that is second or third largest producer of crude oil. ASU has been on strike for about 7 months. Those who were supposed to graduate have not graduated. Can you see how the nation you were born is affecting your destiny? Or you don't know? Some people were meant to go and serve. They can no longer go and serve because by the time school will resume, they would have become 30. And once you are 30 years old, you can no longer participate in National Youth Service Corps. You see how the nation you were born is affecting your destiny. That's why 2023 is critical. See, we have made mistakes in the past as a nation. I say this with all sense of responsibility. Alright? It's so horrible that Nigeria has had weak leaders, weak president, let me say it precisely, for 16 years back to back. We can't afford to make the same mistake come 2023 if this nation really matters to you. Alright? The destinies of over 200 million people is at stake. It's at stake. So we need to talk seriously to ourselves. The nation you were born will affect you. You will experience trials and travails just because you are a citizen of that country. Alright? Next, family you were born. I've given examples on that also. So let's move on. So what are the other causes? Oh, the consequences of our choices. Deuteronomy 30. God specifically said, death and life are what? He said they are in the power of your tongue. However, he said, I have placed before you death and life. Say, choose life. So you have a choice to make. If you have chosen wrongly, maybe relationship, maybe um, with regards to a choice of spouse, the consequences always will follow. All right. So every choice that we make in life, there are consequences that follow, because this life is controlled by causes and actions. Actions and causes. Actions and effects. They go together. Once your choices are not right, consequences will follow. However, even when your choices are right, even a good choice has consequences. You need to think deeply for you to understand what I'm saying. In that you chose right does not exonerate you from consequences. It's just that the magnitude may be different when your choices are even horrible. Alright? You and I are where we are today, perhaps as a result of our choices. The choices we made yesterday, the choices we made last year, the choices we made 10 years ago. No wonder Yoruba people will say, Tomode ba shubu awo waju, tagbalagba ba shubu aweyin wo. When the child sleeps, the child will look forward because the child still has age ahead of him. When an elder sleeps, the elder will look back and say, wow, where did I miss it? Where did I get it wrong? The most important thing is that we must be humble enough to examine ourselves and say, wow, what exactly happened? Because in your tongue, say somebody, nobody deceives him or herself. Like a woman who has a twin, that one had died, and they keep asking, how about your twin children? Oh, they travel. Whereas one of them had died. So, the consequences of our choices. And every 4 years, electorally speaking now, we have the opportunity of choosing our leaders. There are people in the National Assembly that have been, there was a newspaper report that did, oh God, a newspaper report did a write-up, a newspaper did a write-up on people who have been in the National Assembly since 1999. In fact, they were called landlords of National Assembly. They just sit there. Okay? Now, for those of you, I was in a certain office on Friday, and all the youth there were saying, Mr. Ilori, you need to be obedient. You need to be obedient. Okay, all right. I don't have a candidate as I'm speaking now. I don't. All right. But the truth is, how would you have a sheep perform well as the president of Nigeria in the midst of wolves? You don't understand. Let me make it clearer. There are people or forces who are in control of things in this nation. And for as long as the system remains the way it is, it doesn't matter if Mr. President, okay, the one that comes in, is honest, truthful, and a pious man. The system is, in such a way that will frustrate any good intention that somebody has because of the people who, control the system. All right? That's what I'm saying. So, we need to understand that the destiny of Nigeria is at stake. Very, very much at stake. 200 million people's destiny at stake. So, consequences of our choices. Alright? So what other things could cause or could be reasons that can be adduced for trials and travails. The nation you were born, the family you were born, the consequences of our choices. Oh, what is this now? Number 4, the activities of the forces of darkness. Activities of the forces of darkness. There are forces, satanic and devilish forces, who always want to ensure that God's children are in bondage. If you have read the story of how Pharaoh refused to allow the children of Israel to go, why was God asking, why was the children of Israel asking Pharaoh to let them go? They wanted to go and worship God, and he wouldn't let them. But what happened eventually? What happened? Pharaoh and the horse and his riders, they all perished in the Red Sea. That's what happened. Until that happened, the children of Israel were in bondage. The forces of darkness, very, very real. You see so many examples of it, even in the Bible. So, in practical terms, because of our traditional beliefs in the African setting, okay, there are forces of darkness that really hinders progress. There are forces of darkness that doesn't let things work, and you need to be mindful of that. Okay, but don't fret, don't be afraid, because it doesn't matter how powerful the forces of darkness have afflicted you. There's still one who is more powerful than all the forces of darkness on planet Earth. And his name has only 3 letters. G-O-D. G with the big G. O-D. Alright? There's no force in hell that can stop God from saving you and from upholding you. What is important is our belief system and our faith in God. But the forces of darkness are real. They are very, very real. Some of them are listening to this broadcast. Yeah. I'm aware. Okay. See, if you are a regular listener of this program, you know how my usual counsel will be: if the ways of a man pleases the Lord, even his enemies will be at peace with him. So focus on your relationship with your Maker. Don't focus on what the enemy has done and what they are doing. God will take care of the enemies that won't let you go. He will take care of them. The same way he took care of Pharaoh. He will take care of them. Alright? It's not physical battle. It's not something that you... Ìṣòlè kọ́lé ti Jésù, ìṣòlè kọ́lé ti Jésù, kò kọ́lé ìyàwó. Ìṣòlè kọ́lé ti Jésù. There's no way Satan can have his own board set side by side with that of Christ. It's a question of time that house will crumble. Alright? However, you need to understand that there are things you can do as a result of your choices that can actually put you in bondage of the forces of darkness. You see how all of these factors of points are interwoven. Your choices can actually ensure that the forces of darkness keep you in bondage. Right? So that's very, very important. Practical actions that we need to take to overcome financial challenges at a time like this. Okay, so for the month of September, the number of Sundays there, if not all Sundays, would be discussing how best we can improve our finances at a time like this. Okay, so you need to tell your loved ones, tell as many people as possible to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also to be part of the conversation. Okay. All right. There's a vacancy Yes, there's a vacancy. A company that specializes in technology solutions wish to recruit marketing professionals with corporate marketing experiences. Okay, I'll take that again. A company that specializes in technology solutions has vacancy for marketing professionals with corporate marketing experiences. So if you are interested, send your CV to info@bridge57.com. Info, INFO, at bridge57. Bridge, BRIDEG 57.com. All together. info@bridge57.com. And please put the subject marketing professional. Only qualified candidates will be contacted. Right? Marketing professionals with corporate marketing experiences. Send your CV to info@bridge57.com and use marketing professional as the subject. Remember, only qualified candidates will be contacted. Okay, so we are looking at the causes and sources of trials and travails. Okay, that's what we were looking at before we had that quick music break. In the meantime, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can send your text messages to 0810-713-7559. Whatever it is that you are going through, feel free to send a text message. If you need a second opinion on those things, send a text message to this number. Or if you have questions or contributions to today's conversation, send your text messages to 0810-713-7559. All right, very soon we'll open the phone lines and you can call in to be part of the conversation. Okay. All right. So where are we? We have looked at the causes and reasons for trials and travails. We've looked at about 4 of them now. The nation you were born, the family you were born, the consequences of our choices, the activities of the forces of darkness. Okay, that's 4. Number 5 now. Causes and reasons for trials and travails. Number 5. The people you associate with. Who are the people that you associate yourself with? Very, very important. Who do you associate yourself with? Oh, is there an example that we can learn from? Of course, Jonah and his fellow travelers in the boat. If you read the book of Jonah from Jonah chapter 1, from verse 1 to the end. What happened? There was no storm until Jonah entered into that boat. Okay, Jonah was a prophet that was instructed by God to go to Nineveh, to go and warn the people of Nineveh who were worshipping the fish god. But for reasons best known to Jonah, he decided to go to Tarshish. And in the midst of the journey, a storm arose, and they were all asking themselves, all the people in the boat, okay, they were asking themselves, who caused this? Alright, if you have a Jonah in your company, or you are in a relationship with a Jonah, or you are even married to a Jonah, that could be the reason for the troubles and travails you are going through. Okay? One who is disobedient to God, who is not willing to follow God's precepts and principles, will attract trials and travails to you, and all manners of challenges will come your way. Alright? Jonah in your boat may be your husband, may be your wife, it may be your girlfriend, it may be your boyfriend. The people or person that we associate with can attract, trials and travails to us. Alright, number 6, God's syllabus for spiritual maturity. Every trials and travails that we go through, they could also be part of God's syllabus for us. Because God only uses tested vessels. Yes, He only uses tested vessels. So, we need to know, the efficacy of the faith that you profess. Alright? You can say that you are a winner or a redeemer. Oh, I'm a Foursquarean. I'm a deeper lifer. And you can go on and on like that. the troubles that will come or that has come could be part of God's syllabus, to mature us spiritually. All right. So, how do I know that? If you read 1 Peter chapter 3 from verse 1 to 7, okay, the Bible tells us about faith that is being tried. So our faith will be tried. Okay. As I said, various types of tests will come your way. There's test of obedience, there's test of commitment, there's test of faithfulness. All of these three was what Abraham went through. Test of obedience. Will you still be obedient in spite of the challenges that you are going through? Or you want to do things your own way? Would you still be committed to God the way you are doing at the moment? Or the way you were doing before your challenges came up? Will you still be faithful to your Maker when the troubles and travails of life hit you? So they are all part of, syllabus for spiritual maturity. And then finally, at the brink of a major breakthrough, trials and travails can come. You are just at the brink. Okay, just about the time that you will be hitting gold, that your breakthrough is just near. That's when trials and travails will come. A sudden loss of job, and you can't explain it. There was a young man who was transferred by a telco in Nigeria. He was transferred to the northern part of Nigeria. He was very angry, and he wanted to resign. He worked in Lagos, and the company suddenly transferred him to the northern part of Nigeria. Now, not long after he was transferred to the northern part of Nigeria, there was change in management. And everybody in the office where he used to work were asked to go. And then, when the new management came in, they brought him back from Kano back to Lagos. You see, at the time when he was asked to go to Kano, he didn't know that God was going to preserve him, that they will not sack him with his set. Many times we don't see things that way. You just keep on lamenting and you are angry over the things that you don't understand. There's an invisible hand that works behind the clock. And many times we don't see and we won't even know. Alright? What you are going through, God understands and He knows why. Your pastor may not be able to explain it. They can only empathize and sympathize with you. But you see, at the brink of a major breakthrough, there can be storm. Mark chapter 4 verse 35. Same story is in Luke 8 verse 22. Jesus and His disciples were what? They were going on said, let us cross over to the other side. The other side perhaps could have greater opportunities for you. The other side could be very beautiful, the way you can see it. But in between where you are and the other side, there could arise a storm. And that could be the reason for the storms that you're going through or that you went through. Storms of life has no respect for persons, and they can come at the brink of a major breakthrough. Alright, because of time, I'll just quickly also look at what you need to do during trials and travails. Wow, it's 6 o'clock on the dot. Wow. We need to open the phone line. So what should somebody do? Well, one of these 7 things that you have shared is the reason for what I'm going through. Maybe that's what you are saying. But what exactly should somebody do? Should I relocate? How do you relocate out of your troubles and travails? Will relocation actually solve the problem? All right. That is the conversation. If you have questions, all right. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day ahead.